Hello my dear friends, today we will think about the first poem of English subject, unit number 1, 1.1, where the mind is without fear. Somewhat motivational poem related to the nationalism has been given in the syllabus. Where the mind is without fear, this poem is simply one type of a prayer which is written by Rabindranath Tagore. I think there is no need that Rabindranath Tagore require any type of introduction. He is one of the most important personality in the freedom fight, as well as we can say he was one of the educationalists who had given different type of education system to the world. But according to the syllabus, we have to give his introduction. Rabindranath Tagore was born in 1861 and died in 1941. Was the author of Gitanjali and his profoundly sensitive, fresh and beautiful verse. He became the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913. This was the biggest achievement because he was closely connected with the nature. He was closely connected with the phenomenon of nature. So there was a huge impact on his writing skills of a natural phenomenon we can observe. We can simply say it like that way, that whole his life was one type of a reflection of a nature. He had always used nature as our God in his, we can say, writing. But one of the most important factor related to the Rabindranath Tagore is in 1913 he got the Nobel Prize, and he was the first person who won the Nobel Prize from non-European countries, maybe from the Asia. He was the first person to win the Nobel Prize in the field of literature, and for which we can say collection of the poetry. He had won that particular award, that was for Gitanjali. It was his amazing, motivational, we can say one type of a devotional type of a collection of the poetry, or we can say anthology. Anthology is the collection of the poetry. This poem is one of his vastly read and discussed poem. It was originally composed in Bengali and later he himself translated it into the English. This poem is a form his Nobel Prize winning anthology, Gitanjali. Anthology that I have told to you, it is a collection of a poetry that is called as anthology. This poem, where the mind is without fear, has been taken, or we can say simply had been taken from that collection of a Gitanjali, one of the prayer to the God. How he was expecting that our independence should happen, how our new country should born. That type of expectations were there in the mind of Rabindranath Tagore related to this poem. And we can say his dream he has reflected in this poem, that what type of a nation he wanted, what type of a independent India he wanted, what type of a independent, we can say, Hindustan he wanted at that time. But what is the important criteria that maybe he had observed all the time, we can say past time of a British rule, how the Britishers had ruled the Indians, and how they had made them slave. Everything had been observed by Rabindranath Tagore, so that in his mind there was a different type of a transformation related to the India was there, and he wanted that type of India in future time, and for that he is praying the God, he is praying the Almighty, he is praying the, maybe I can say, he is praying the nature, because according to him, nature is a God. What he was saying that had been given in this particular poem. Tagore lived during the time when India was ruled by the British. In this poem, besides political freedom from British, Tagore also appeals to God for social, educational and economical freedom for the people of India. Maybe political freedom was simple process actually. When we think about different type of we can say freedom which was compared here by Rabindranath Tagore. He had said the social, educational, economical freedom is required for the independent Indian people. But what is the important part? That Britishers had given the freedom to Indian people, or we can say Indian country. But what is the important part? That they have given us the political freedom. They had given us the political, we can say, one type of a freeness to rule our own country. But remember, at that time, the condition of India was very, very adverse. Condition of India was very, very, we can say, in a bad situation related to the social system, related to the educational system, related to the economical system, and everything was in a danger. At that time, what Rabindranath Tagore was thinking, that new dream of an Indian country, new dream of a new India, independent India, how it should be, how it would be. It should be economically free, educationally it will be free, economically it will be free, socially it will be free. Socially is very important, because Indian country had been differentiated in a various manner. We can say caste, we can say religion, we can say color, we can say class. All the things were that much important in Indian country before the independence and after the independence also. But here in this poem, what the Rabindranath Tagore is thinking, why he had written this poem, maybe he had done the one type of a praying to the God, that, oh God, oh Almighty, I want that type of a country that I wanted to express in front of you, that has been given in this particular poem. One by one, line by line, firstly we will think about the meaning of the particular poem, and after that we will think the poem related to the figure of speech, related to the, we can say, figure of speech or grammatical context, we can think afterwards. Firstly, I will describe the poem line wise, and then we will think about the meaning of the particular poem. First line, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where the knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls. Where the mind is without fear, expectation. What is the expectation? Rabindranath Tagore is thinking that I want that type of a country, I want that type of a nation, I want that type of an independent nation where everybody's mind will be free. Everybody's mind will be free by the fear. There should not be any type of a fear related to the individualism, related to the humanism, related to the economical problems. That type of a fear should not be there into my independent country, my independent nation. That is the first expectation from the Rabindranath Tagore. He is urging that. He is asking the God, he is asking the Almighty that in my own country, when my country will be free, my country will be independent, at that time there should be no fear in the mind of the people of the country. And the head is held high. Always, they should live with the dignity. They should live with, not maybe we can say, they should not bow their head in front of anybody. They should hold their head very high. They should hold their head very high means what? That they should live with the self-respect. They should live with the dignity. They should create their own life, own ideology, own philosophy, like that way that there will be no need to bow in front of anybody or to slave to anybody. They should be just maybe independent on their own foot or independent on their own feet. They should not create that type of one type of a negative sense that they will be depend on another people for everything. They should, so that the Rabindranath Tagore said that head is held high. Head should be held high. Maybe they should live with the self-respect. They should live with the lot much more positivity in their life. Where the knowledge is free. Now question is very, at that time, before the, we can say independence, before the 1947, this poem has been written, and Rabindranath Tagore is saying where knowledge is free, means he wanted that type of a nation where knowledge should not be limited to the certain people. Maybe certain people means only the rich people, only the people from one caste, only the people from one religion. That type of a sense should not be there according to him. He was saying the knowledge will be free to everybody. Knowledge should be available to every human being who wanted to take the education. That should be free in our nation. His expectation was very high. His expectations were very, very important. But today again the question will come in our mind. Is it our education is free? Is it our education is that type of a, we can say, potential that can reach to the common people also? Negativity is spreading again. And again we have to pray the God, according to me, that something should be happen and the knowledge should be free. Where the world has not been broken into the fragments. Third line is very important. Where the world has not been broken up into the fragments. When we think about the historical background of India, when we think about the history of India till the rule of Britishers, we can say divide and rule policy had been applied by everybody in the history of Indian society, or we can say Indian historical sense. That which type of fragments? Fragments means small bit of papers. Fragments means small bit of things. Which type of fragments were there? Maybe our society had been divided according to the caste. Our society had been divided according to the religion. Our society has been divided according to the class and color also. And one most important thing is like that way. The rich and poor, educated and illiterate, that type of a different type of differentiations are there or were there. But what expectations were there from Rabindranath Tagore? He was saying where the world has not been broken up into the fragments. World should not be, means our nation should not be broken into the small unwanted things which are harmful to the society. Casteism, religion conflict, class conflict, we can say color conflict, conflict between the rich and poor. That should not be happen. We should united. We should give ample opportunities to every person who is living in the independent country. Or we can say simply say that we should give ample and proper opportunities to the citizens of India. We should not think about their dividation according to these different type of things. Secularism, should be applied into the social reformation or social development that was the Rabindranath Tagore's expectations from the God. And what is important after that? By narrow domestic walls. Which type of domestic walls were there? Narrow domestic walls. Actually, I had described it. That narrow domestic walls means what? There were different type of one important word was there in Urdu, or one line is there from Urdu. Dीवारें उठाना तो हर युग की सियासत है. What is important that? What is important in that? दीवारें उठाना तो हर युग की सियासत है. Means every society had been divided into the different type of things. They are like a beaded walls. And what is our most important aim? That we should break down. We should break down. We should divide that. We should break down. We should destroy. We should demolish that particular walls which are there in between the society, which are harmful for their secular growth, their social growth. That should be cut down. That should be break down. That was the expectation of Rabindranath Tagore in his urge, in his praying to the Almighty. Another line, next line, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards the perfection, where the clear stream of a reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of a dead habit, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards the perfection. Now, how society should be developed? How new project, new ideas should be implemented in the independent country? Tireless striving stretches its arms. What is mean by that? Continuous efforts and struggles aims at achieving a goal. Means that type of a mentality should be developed in between the people of an independent country, independent India, or in upcoming youth of an Indian country or Indian society, that when they will take any work in their hand, they have to work hard for getting it. They have to work hard for achieving it. They have to work hard for just achieving their aim. That type of a continuous, tireless effort, hard work, they should apply to get their particular aim, particular target. That type of a society Rabindranath Tagore wanted to develop in an independent India. What he is saying, where tireless striving stretches his arms towards the perfection, until and unless perfect things, perfect aim, perfect achievement will be gained, then and then they should stop. They will stop. That type of a mindset of the people is required in India according to the Rabindranath Tagore. So he has used this phrase very nicely. Tireless striving stretches its arms towards the perfection. Continuously there is a lot much more hard work capacity is required. That type of a capacity which will satisfy itself until and unless perfect target will be achieved. Next line, 4 lines are very important. Where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way. Now, what is meant by clear stream of a reason? What is meant by clear stream of a reason? That is the most important part. Means we should judge every saying, every thought, every action by the proper logical thinking. Means we should give this, maybe there are different type of the point of views related to that. When something will be happen, we have to accept it as a logically, and we have to accept it with the reasonable skills. We have to accept it with the scientific approach. Because why he has said like that way? That Indian country has been surrounded with the superstitious things. Indian country has been surrounded with the superstitious mindset. And what the Rabindranath Tagore is expecting, that the people now should think about in a logical sense that what is the truth and what is the false thing. What are the truth, what are the proper things according to the logic, and what are the improper thing according to logic. That type of a differentiation they should make. So he used this metaphor very nicely, where the clear stream of a reason has not lost its way. Means that type of a intellectual power should be developed. That intellectual power, intellectual thinking should not detach from their own comments, should not detach from their own ideology in unwanted ideology which was spread into the society. Maybe it was a superstitious ideology, maybe it will be the another different type of a dividing ideology. Everybody, or we can say not scientific type of activities will be happen into the society, but the people who are intellectuals, they should give more values to their own thoughts. They should, we can say, strongly stick with their ideology, which is logical, which is scientific, which is more important for the development of the society. And that is compared with the another thing, into the dreary desert sand of a dead habit. Dreary desert sand of a dead habit means there were number of traditional and ritual habits were there, customs were there in a Indian people since, we can say, traditionally, since we can say history, since we can say culturally, that were adopted by Indian people, and that were like dreary desert sand. Dreary desert sand means what? Dreary desert sand of a dead habits. Again he has used the metaphor that the sand which will not be kept into our hand, that sand which is not useful for anything, that type of a sand has been compared with the bad habits. Means Indian people have got that type of a bad habits, that type of a, we can say, traditional habits, traditional rituals. They are surrounded thinking, or their thinking is totally surrounded with the traditional rituals, customs, and that are, maybe they are adopting that with not with the sense. They are not judging it with the proper scientific background. They are not judging it scientific balance, or we can say logical balance, but they are accepting it because they had been using that since number of years, since number of centuries. So writer is saying that that should be stopped. That should not be taken. That should not be taken by the new independent Indian society in upcoming future. They should think logically. They should think scientifically. They should remove their bad habits, that is called as a dead habits, which were surrounded by the past experience, past rituals and customs. That should be removed out from the human being, from their life, from the society, from it, from society or the social, we can say, thinking, social expectation should properly get changed. Socially we should think more positively as far as anything which will be happen for the social development, or maybe anything which will be happen for around us. We should think it logically and scientifically. That was the need according to the Rabindranath Tagore into the upcoming independent India. And three lines are more important. Last one. What are the lines? Where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into the heaven of a freedom, my father, let my country awake. Where the mind is led forward by thee. Now this thee, that thee word has been used for the God. Now what the expectation Rabindranath Tagore is thinking about? What is the expectation of Rabindranath Tagore? That Rabindranath Tagore is thinking like that way. Oh God, you should take responsibility to guide my society, my countrymen, my country. Where the mind is led forward by thee means you should guide their minds, You should guide their minds with the positive thinking. You should guide their thoughts with the determined thinking. You should take them with the, you should imbibe within them the broad outlook related to development of the society, related to development of their own life. But you should take the charge. What is the expectation of Rabindranath Tagore? He was saying that, oh God, you should take the charge with your good values. You have to take them under your control, and you have to move forward in our life, or maybe you have to move forward our life, forward our countrymen's life into the independent India, into ever widening thought and action. How, which type of a maybe ideology is required, which type of a life, which type of a social life, which type of a, we can say, independent life Rabindranath Tagore is expecting. He is saying that into ever widening thought and action, broad, with a broad outlook, with the future planning, with the future perspectives, that type of thoughts are required. That type of not only thoughts are required, with that action plan is also required. That type of action plans, that type of thoughts which are required, which can be ever widening. Ever widening means what? That can be helpful for the development of a nation in upcoming many years. We should develop that type of a thought process, that type of a action process that can help for the development of upcoming nation, as well as the society, as well as the human being. That type of expectations were there from the Rabindranath Tagore. Maybe he is expecting that type of a thing from the God, that he should develop that type of a procedure in our India. Into the heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. Now, last line is very important. Into that heaven of freedom, condition of total freedom, of good thoughts, good words, good deeds, while representing those of others. Now look what is the meaning of that. He is saying that I want into that heaven of freedom. Oh my dear God, he is asking the God, he is praying the God, he is praising the God, that God, you have to take us in a heaven of freedom. What is meant by heaven of freedom? That type of a condition should be there into the independent India, that we should live with good thoughts, we should live with good words, we should live with the good deeds, and while we have to give that type of things to the others also, not for only for our purpose, not for only for one individual, not for only for the self-development. We should develop our country for each and every person who is living in this particular land called as India. So he is saying in the last line that I want that type of freedom. It should be compared with the heavenly experience that people should get, people should take, people should observe, people should experience in our country, in that type of a country. Oh my God, oh my Father. Here Father word is used for the God. God, take me into this type of a country. You have to develop that type of a country which can maybe full of heavenly character. That was the expectations. That were the expectations of Rabindranath Tagore from the Almighty God. This is, according to me, this is the one type of explanation from me. Maybe again everybody will get a different type of explanation for every poem, but according to me, this that explanation which I had done is more than enough. But again, you can read it, find out your own meaning, try to write your own summary, try to write your own experience related to poem. Remember one thing, poem is a different type of a structure of a writing. For every individual, that meanings of the poem's lines should be different, but that should be logical. That is the most important part. Now we will think about the figure of speech which are given in the lines of the poem. First line, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, there is alliteration has been used. We can say alphabet W has been repeated, alphabet H has been repeated, alliteration of a sound had taken place in the first line. Again in the third line, where the word has not been broken into the fragments, again there is a alliteration because W alphabet or the sound has repeated again. And in the line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 line also there is a again the alliteration figure of speech has been used. How the alliteration now, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards its perfection. Sound, yes alphabet and the sound has been repeated, so it is a alliteration. T sound has been repeated again, so it is again the alliteration has been used there. But one important thing is there, that what is mean by where the tireless striving stretches its arms towards the perfection. Tireless striving stretches its arms towards the perfection. Personification is there because human character like stretching the arm has been compared, maybe has been connected with the tireless striving. So that personification is also one type of figure of speech is there. Now next line, where a clear stream of reason has not lost its way. Here metaphor has been used. Comparison. Which type of a comparison? Clear stream of thoughts has been of reason. Clear stream. Stream has been compared with the stream of a reason. So metaphor is there. Now again next line, into the dreary desert sand of dead habits. Dreary desert sand had been compared with the dead habits. Again metaphor is there. Why metaphor? As and like, so as and like. That type of words are not there. So what we can say, only you have to write the name of the figure of speech in that you can observe from the particular poem's line. Here I have told you, into the dreary desert sand of a dead habit. Again here alliteration is also there, but with we can say personification is also there because dreary desert sand of a dead habit. Habits habits are always associated with the human being, but here that is associated with the sand. Sand is a non-living thing, so it is a personification again. And metaphor is why? Because sand and dead habits has been compared with each other, so it is a metaphor. Now next line in which there is a figure of speech, we can say last line, into that heaven of a freedom, my father, let my country awake. In this particular lesson or in this particular line, we can say the writer, the poet is praising or appealing to the God that you have to do this type of things for me, for the people, for your devotee. That type of explanation is there. So the apostrophe is a figure of speech. Apostrophe is a figure of speech because he is saying to the Father, my Father means Almighty God. That supernatural things had been called, so that we can say it is the figure of speech, apostrophe. And last one simple word is there, that is a country. Here country is not only the country. The country is not only the country which we are using as a one type of a noun, abstract noun, but here one type of not an abstract noun, it is a use as a noun. But what is the important thing, maybe forget about the noun, we can say here that country word is used for the collection of the people. For the collection of a people, one simple word has been used as a country, and due to that, Sinek Diki, that is the figure of speech which is happening there, and that you have to take into the account. You have to think about that. But remember one thing, when we learn this poem, when we watch this poem, one thing is very important, that read it again and again, line by line. Try to find out the meaning of two lines which are connected with each other. Then write your own summary, and whatever the figure of speech I have given to you or I have told to you, write down that figure of speech in your notebook with these examples of line, and try to memorize it, because they will not ask you to explain it, but if you will explain that, then it will be very good for you. But what is the important part? Read the poem again, read the lines again, try to write the summary in your own word, and that is the most important part of the understanding of the poem. I think you have understood now somewhat. Maybe read it again at home, but according to me, I have explained it according to my capacity. Thank you very much.